what is up guys, it's Thunderstruck115. I hope y'all had a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I hope your 2024 is off to a fantastic start. My Christmas and New Year were pretty good, and it's just left me filled with so much positivity and happiness. But today, we are going to be looking at somebody who's not feeling so positive and happy today. So a few nights ago, I was scrolling through YouTube, and somebody by the name of Tarragon managed to catch my eye with a video responding to Under the Mayo's Act 2 review of Ultra Kill. You know, the one that happened like a year and a half ago. And honestly, I thought it was pretty But then I decided to look at his channel, and I quickly saw that he made a video responding to Psychonautic Therapy's video on the Actman Arena shooter drama. You know that drama that died off like 9 months ago. And it was pretty fucking terrible. But, you know, that's not the video we're gonna be responding to, because I think I found one that's even funnier. The title of the video we are gonna be watching is Elden Ring, a Harsh Critique. Now, he says it's a critique, but really it just amounts to him ranting and raving about how Elden Ring is overrated because it's the same as Dark Souls. So without further ado, let's see why this man has such a massive problem with Elden Ring.
This game is so overrated. The fact that you have fanboys go crazy over this game. From Software fans are the biggest fanboys I've ever seen. If they don't calm the hell down for 1 second, I mean damn, what the hell is so revolutionary about this game?
The fucking irony of telling people to calm down when he himself is ranting and raving like fucking hippo-zoned. Like, dude, it's a video game. Calm the hell down. Okay, to be fair, I do want to acknowledge the slim possibility that this dude might be trolling, because in the other 2 videos of his I watched, he's a lot more calm and collective, so this video might be an outlier where he's just doing a bit. But why do I say it's a slim possibility? Well, because he's done 2 other videos on Elden Ring, and while I haven't watched them, looking at the thumbnail, it definitely seems to be negative. But let's keep going.
You go around a huge environment that only serves one purpose. Dark Souls again. Only now it's more open, and suddenly it's different. Are you fucking serious?
Well, seeing as Elden Ring is the first time we've ever had a Souls game take place in an open world like this, yeah, I'd say that is different. Every Souls game prior to Elden Ring had a Metroidvania-style world design, with the exception of Demon Souls, which had the 5-level structure. Plus, those previous Souls games were a lot more railroaded, whereas the open-world design of Elden Ring gives you a lot of freedom as to how you tackle the game's objectives.
Let's assess the aspects, people, because I'm having a hard time seeing why people put this game up like it's the coming of Jesus.
I'm Blind Beard the Pirate.
Probably because Elden Ring is by far the most refined that a Souls game has ever been. Like, play Demon Souls or Dark Souls 1 or 2, and then go play Elden Ring, and it's a night and day difference.
First off, the combat system is the exact same combat design seen in From Software games. My god! This is repetitive, because if you play Sekiro, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 1, motherfucker, you played Elden Ring! Ah!
Christ, my fucking ears. Yeah, for the sake of not giving tinnitus to everybody who watches this video, I'm gonna lower the volume of this dude's video so it doesn't blow out y'all's eardrums. But back to what he was saying, yeah, the core of the combat design is the same as Dark Souls or Bloodborne, but at the same time, that's kind of how sequels tend to work. But that doesn't mean Elden Ring's combat design didn't innovate on top of that. For example, you can now jump, which allows you to do jumping attacks. There's the new guard counter. There's the Ashes of War system. There's also the Spirit Ashes, which you can use to summon a variety of different NPCs to help you, which, by the way, is different from the regular summoning mechanic that's been around since Demon Souls. There's the stance-breaking mechanic. And, of course, there's a bunch of new enemies and bosses to fight. I could keep going on, but I think y'all get the point.
Why is this happening? Why are they repeating the same shit, assets, and animations? And why am I yelling?
I don't know, you tell me why you're yelling, but honestly, I'd prefer it if you didn't so that you wouldn't blow out my fucking ears. But as to why they're repeating assets and animations, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, I would rather From Software spend its development time developing new content for the game rather than making sure that each animation is different from the last game.
Well, here's the thing. People claim this game is so groundbreaking, it's so revolutionary. Are you fucking kidding me? What did it even do with its open world design? What did it do new, even with its combat system? This overused ass combat system that has been utilized in so many games, and now, oh look, it's being utilized in an open world where they don't even do open world shit. You don't have open world activities, freedom, NPCs with quest lines, dialogue options, RPG mechanics, environmental interactivity. Where the fuck is it?
Dude, literally everything that you just mentioned is in Elden Ring. Open world activities are in the game. Just because it's not like Far Cry where it immediately spells out every single thing you can do right from the get-go doesn't mean they aren't there. Freedom, it's an open world game. Now, granted, there are some progression gates, like you have to defeat 2 Great Room bosses in order to gain access to Leyndell, but even with that, the open world design of Elden Ring gives you a lot of freedom. For example, if you're really struggling on a certain boss or a certain section and you need a break or you want to go level up and get better shit, you can leave, go do something else in the open world, and then come back to him later. Dialogue options and NPCs with quest lines, like, do I even justify that with a response? Seeing as there's plenty of examples I can point to, like Millicent or Randy the Witch. Environmental interactivity, my guy, this is probably the best example of it in a fucking Souls game out there. And RPG mechanics, you know, you have the character creation tool, you got fucking stats, you have a wide variety of different equipment options that you can use based on whatever stats you have. Like, bro, everything you fucking listed is in the game, so where's the problem?
What is the problem?
Skyrim is a true fucking open world. It might slack in the RPG mechanical department, but it's still a true goddamn open world. And it's fun, large, and the world is responsive.
And Elden Ring isn't? Like, it would really help your case if you actually gave examples on what you think Skyrim does that's so good that Elden Ring slacks in. But, spoiler alert, he doesn't.
This game is just like From Software linear games. NPCs are stagnant as hell, and only say one quote of dialogue, just like Dark Souls.
Yeah, maybe you'd find them to be far less stagnant if you actually did their quest lines.
The combat, the meticulous movement, and fighting, yeah! That's like Dark Souls! The combat system is the exact same combat design as Dark Souls 3. When Dark Souls 3 took the combat design of the first Dark Souls, and it made it more refined. So if that's the case, motherfucker, how in the fuck is duplicating the same combat system you utilized in Dark Souls 3? How in the flippity flying fuck is that revolutionary?
Alright, now to be fair, I have not yet played Dark Souls 3. However, even though Elden Ring has the same core combat design as previous Souls games, there are quite a few differences. I already discussed the Spirit Ashes and the Ashes of War systems already, so I'm not going to repeat myself here. There's stance breaking, where if you hit an enemy with enough heavy attacks, they'll break their stance and you can riposte them, which, granted, Dark Souls 3 did have something similar called poise, but it's not exactly the same. You can jump in the middle of combat, which allows for different kinds of jumping attacks. Power wielding, a mechanic that was previously only in Dark Souls 2, makes its return here in Elden Ring. Additionally, there's the Crimson versus Cerulean Flasks, where you have to ration between being able to restore your health and restore your magic. During the open world sections of the game, you can ride on horseback on Torrent, which allows you to do horseback combat, something that didn't exist in any previous Souls game. And then there's also the different weapons, spells, enemies, and bosses that they added. So given all that, I'd say that's pretty fucking innovative.
What the fuck are you people talking about? Dude, this game isn't revolutionary. From an open world aspect, compare this to Oblivion. It's not revolutionary. From a gaming aspect, from a combat system aspect, and from an open world aspect, again, compare this game to Oblivion. Look at this waste, large ass mother flipping environment. Holy cow, people. Holy cow, it's goddamn huge and beautiful. What the fuck is this? Dude, this huge ass environment is just being utilized for Dark Souls shit.
Well, no fucking shit.
What? You mean to tell me that the open world in a Souls game is being used for Souls stuff? Oh my god, I never would have guessed that. What's next? You're gonna tell me that GTA's open world is being used for GTA shit? Or that fucking Red Dead's open world is being used for Red Dead shit? Or Just Cause's open world is being used for Just Cause shit? Like, I seriously do not get what the problem is here. I mean, maybe if you're just not the kind of person that likes the Souls gameplay, but in that case, why the fuck did you buy a Souls game then?
It's Dark Souls again. What the fuck? What the fuck is... Why the fuck is this game so similar to the first Dark Souls? Fuck! That game, yeah, it was revolutionary. It still is. You know what? It's a masterpiece. But what the fuck is this? This is huge. This is huge. It doesn't utilize its open world design. It doesn't utilize its open world environment. This shit is just Dark Souls again! You copying your own formula, but then utilizing it for an open world where you just do the same thing you do in Dark Souls.
Again, what exactly is the problem with that? Elden Ring's open world gives you a lot of freedom as to how you tackle its objectives. Plus, the exploration aspect that was in some of the previous Souls games is at its best here because of the open world design. And seeing as you just labeled Dark Souls 1 as a masterpiece, I really don't see what the problem is with having a Dark Souls style game in an open world. So again, where's the problem?
What is the problem?
So how is this groundbreaking?
I've already explained why multiple times earlier. I am not gonna repeat myself again.
Oh, why? Because, it went against the Ubisoft formula? Yeah, but guess what? Games like Ghost of Tsushima have the Ubisoft formula. Does that make it bad? Does that make it any less of an open world? No!
You know, I am really glad I went ahead and turned down the volume so that my eardrums didn't get blown out a second fucking time, but back on topic. When it comes to the Ubisoft formula of open worlds, it's not that it's an inherently bad formula, it's just the way that most companies, including Ubisoft, use that formula is pretty fucking flawed. That doesn't mean that some games can't use it effectively, like for example, I'd say that Just Cause 3 is an example of a game that has the Ubisoft formula but does it well. And as for Ghost of Tsushima, I have not played it, so I can't really say how good or bad the open world design is there, but given how well it was received, it probably has a good open world design. Or it could be a case where the game is good despite the open world design, kind of like how Halo Infinite is. But given that the Souls games are focused on combat and exploration, the Ubisoft formula isn't really conducive to that. Instead of immediately dotting every single activity on the open world map from the get-go, the game actually wants you to explore its open world to find shit. And even then, it's not like it's too difficult to find. Like, you see a building off in the distance, go ride towards that fucker. There's probably someone to talk to or somebody to fight. And while I wouldn't say that not using the Ubisoft open world formula is inherently revolutionary, it does make Elden Ring stand out compared to most other open world games nowadays that do use the Ubisoft formula.
What does Elden Ring have in its open world design? Oh, I'll tell you, nothing! It doesn't have open world design. The game is a huge ass mother flipping experience, but it didn't utilize its open world design. It just plops you in there and expects you to do the same things you do in all From Software games. That includes Dark Souls 1, and that's it! That's the entire game. I played it for months and months and months.
Are you sure about that? Because looking at your footage, you're still in fucking Limgrave. I mean, maybe it's possible that he's just starting a new run with a new character, but I'm not gonna put my bets on that.
So don't give me that I didn't assess it properly shit. See, the Ubisoft design is designed for people to have different activities in the open world department. When you remove this, you have to have your own design and activities in your open world for people to have fun. What does Spider-Man have? Delivering pizzas on the PS2 version or the PS4. You can stop criminals, do side activities, fight bad guys, explore the city, web sling. Awesome. It utilizes the fact that it's open world. It's not just, okay, action RPG now, open world RPG, and that's it.
Yes, it's perfectly fine to have an open world game that focuses on giving a wide variety of activities to do, but it's also perfectly fine to have an open world game that focuses on the core gameplay, which is what Elden Ring does. Elden Ring has an excellent gameplay loop, and From Software wanted to make the open world focus on that gameplay loop. If that's not the kind of open world design you want to play in, that's fine, but that doesn't mean it's inherently bad.
Now what about the open world part? See, Skyrim didn't just do that. Skyrim is huge, and it utilizes every aspect of its open world environment. Elden Ring only utilizes it for one purpose, fighting, and that's it.
I mean, it also uses it for exploration and for NPC quest lines, but, you know, sure, I guess we're just gonna gloss over that, although, to be fair, fighting is the majority of what you do in a Souls game. But that doesn't mean that Elden Ring doesn't use the open world to its advantage. For example, fights against the Tree Sentinel or the Fire Giant are done because of the open world mechanics. There's also the freedom about which encounters to tackle and when, and if you're struggling on one, you can go do something else instead. Not to mention the loot hidden in the open world. Once again, you're fucking wrong.
So it leads you to wonder, why the fuck is this even open world if you're gonna do the same thing you do in a linear environment? So you might as well have made this a linear game. The fact that people praise this game and put it up as the revolutionary, groundbreaking experience. Oh, you don't know what's around the corner of the open environment. That's what makes it so mind-blowing. Except you fucking do. Behind each part of the environment is just another boss. The end. This is the entire environment. Aside from dungeons and hazards, that's it. That's literally it. The entire open world is just a big ass arena for fighting. Dude, that's fucking boring. Why? I'll tell you why. Because, motherfucker, I already played it. I played the first fucking Dark Souls. I don't want to play that shit again.
Well, luckily for you then, Elden Ring is not the same game as Dark Souls 1, even if they do have a lot of similarities, because, again, that's how fucking sequels work. Or I guess technically Elden Ring is a spiritual successor, because technically it's not part of the Dark Souls franchise, but you know what I mean, it's obviously meant to be a Souls game.
I want a new experience, not the same fucking shit! Have you lost your mind? God damn, these From Software fanboys are so fucking unreasonable! You can't say one fucking thing without them losing their shit like I'm losing mine.
Okay, while I will agree that FromSoft fanboys are absolute fucking cancer, that doesn't change the fact that the criticisms you're giving are completely fucking stupid or just flat out wrong. If you just left it as Elden Ring is just not the kind of game that you want to play, that would have been perfectly fine. But that fact does not make the design of Elden Ring inherently bad.
Because, oh, it's so groundbreaking. Groundbreaking my ass. You're doing the same shit as Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 1 is groundbreaking. You having an empty open world environment that only serves one purpose, and you call that revolutionary? It's not revolutionary. It's not groundbreaking. You people blew this shit way, and I do mean way out of proportion.
Projection detected, opinion rejected.
Oh, and Never Knows Best, in his Elden Ring video, he stated you can't even play blind. It's actually fucking true!
No, it isn't. You can play Elden Ring blind just fine if you want. Like, have you noticed that some of the Sites of Grace have these sort of trails that point you in a certain direction? You know, a mechanic that the game teaches you right from the get-go? If you're ever confused as to where you need to go, just follow the trails from the Sites of Grace and they'll lead you to where you need to go to progress the main story. Of course, if you want to, you can choose to completely ignore them and just fuck around wherever you want to in the open world. It's really up to you.
Just to even play this, unlike Dark Souls 1, I could play that blind. I had to look up guides just to play Elden Ring.
Yeah, that just sounds like a you problem because, again, the Sites of Grace will guide you where you need to go to progress the main path.
Yes, this is the hardest From Software game by a fucking mile. Dude, it's hard as fuck in comparison to any of their games. I played most of their games. Aside from Dark Souls 2, I played Sekiro. I own Bloodborne. I played Dark Souls 1. I own Dark Souls 1. I played Dark Souls 3, and so on. I played From Software games. So don't give me that, oh, you don't know how these games work. You couldn't possibly understand. Motherfucker, I do understand. Motherfucker, I played it. Don't give me that shit. You can kiss this ass, because motherfucker, I played it. So hearing that shit is so annoying.
I mean, I guess I can't really speak to your experience, whether you struggled more with this or not, but honestly, I thought Elden Ring was the easiest of all the Souls games I've played. Now, granted, I haven't played Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, or Bloodborne, but I find Elden Ring to be easier than the other FromSoft games. Like, Dark Souls 1 is harder, Dark Souls 2 is harder, Demon Souls is harder, and again, here's some advice. If you're struggling on something in Elden Ring and just can't seem to progress, try going somewhere else for a bit instead, level up, get some gear, upgrade the gear that you currently have, and then come back and retry the boss. And something else you gotta keep in mind, because Elden Ring is an open world game, there are some areas that are designed to be tackled later on because they have harder enemies and they expect you to have higher stats and better equipment. So if you're getting your ass handed to you by a specific area, try going somewhere else and you might find that another area might be more suited for where you're currently at in the game.
Oh, you're not even a true fan of these games anyway. Yeah, well, I prefer action games that have a more complex combat system. And let's dive into that for a sec. In other games like Devil May Cry, and yes, Kingdom Hearts, and even Nier Automata, they have complex combat systems with different attack moves and techniques. Because From Software has to maintain the groundedness of Dark Souls formula and meticulous movement. They had to limit their combat systems in all of their games. That includes Elden Ring. So you're stuck with the same meticulous movement and limited attacks and combat techniques. You can't utilize a different combat system. You can't utilize different attack moves and techniques. That shit would be fucking absolutely cool, but you can't do these things. So I prefer other combat systems because of this.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Tarragon. If you just left it at this and said that you prefer the combat system in games like Devil May Cry and Nier Automata compared to the slower and more tactical combat system of Elden Ring and Dark Souls, I honestly wouldn't have taken an issue with that. My problem is with you getting things objectively wrong when it comes to the way Elden Ring works. Not to mention, if you've already played the other Souls games and said that you don't like the core combat design of those compared to other games like Devil May Cry or Nier Automata, then why the fuck are you playing a Souls game? So at this point, he goes on like a rant for like the next 45 seconds, just reiterating all the points I've already responded to, and then ends off the video, so I don't think we need to watch that. So I guess the key takeaway here is that just because you might not prefer a certain style of game over another, it doesn't mean that it's inherently bad. Additionally, while the core of Elden Ring might be the same as Dark Souls, they've made a lot of changes around that to warrant it being its own game. Oh, and not every single game needs to follow the Ubisoft style of open world for it to be a good open world game. But that's gonna be it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for more, and tell me what you think of this dude ranting about Elden Ring. Anyways, that's it. Peace!